pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantic. Flight downside, speed off. Speed off.
Yikes.
You bet.
Okay. We don't need any more of these.
All right, folks, good morning. Let us know if you can hear us and see the video from Cape Canaveral. That is coming right by the countdown clock there at the Cape Canaveral press site at Kennedy Space Center. You can see there's a Falcon 9 on the pad, 60 Starlink satellites stacked up in the payload fairing at the top. I'm John Gallo with NASA Spaceflight 5x5. That's what I like to see over there. And on the camera today, we've got Thomas Burkhart. Thomas, how are you doing this morning, buddy?
Good, it's good to be back.
How's the weather out there? It looks like the sun is about to start coming up or something. Get a little bit of tint in the clouds.
No, this mission has scrubbed just often enough that we're now experiencing a beautiful sunrise here at Kennedy Space Center. The weather is pretty good, except for the cumulus cloud roll, which we have just been told is observed red at this time. So we are watching the weather, hoping that will clear in time for launch, which is in over 45 minutes, so time for that to happen. But otherwise, a few clouds in the sky, but some patches of clear sky as well, and a very light breeze.
All right. And chat, let us know. Can you hear Thomas okay this morning? He is out there at the Cape doing the single operator with the camera this morning. So let me know if you can hear Thomas just fine as well. But as you just heard him say, we are tracking just over 45 minutes for the launch. However, we're currently red for the cumulus cloud rule, and hopefully that clears up because it is about 40 minutes away. Can hear Thomas, sounds great, 5x5. All right, good deal. So as usual, we're here live. We're here to do a little bit of sharing of the launch with you, and we are going to be answering questions as we normally do. If you have a question for us, tag us in chat at NASA Spaceflight. That'll go into a queue, and we will see. We'll see how many questions Thomas can answer single-handedly this morning. Also, if you do things like super chats and stuff like that, those will also go into our queue. Don't always call them out in exact real time, but we do want to thank everybody for all the different ways that they support the stream so that we can do these things, especially this early in the morning. So, Thomas, if you're ready, we can start answering some questions. I'll see if we get anything popping through chat, but now's the time. Y'all start tagging us up at NASA Space Site. What's going on with the mission here this morning? It's Starlink satellites, but for the people who maybe are uninitiated, what does that mean with the rocket here this morning?
Sure. So today's launch will be today's launch attempt, I should say, because at this point we're just hoping that something launches from Cape Canaveral one of these days. It's been a huge string of scrubs the last couple of weeks, and this particular mission has been no exception. It was scrubbed for a ground support equipment issue, and then yesterday it was scrubbed to weather, and there were a couple other attempts for weather and equipment issues and all this stuff, and they are finally ready for another launch attempt this morning. On board are 60 of SpaceX's Starlink internet satellites. SpaceX is building a satellite constellation to provide worldwide internet access via satellite, and this is the latest launch in support of that mission. This is the 13th Starlink mission overall and the 12th batch of the version 1.0 or real operational satellites. And on board are 60 of those satellites. No rideshare payloads on board today. Sometimes only Starlink missions. They take a couple Starlink satellites off and put some customer payloads on board. None today, just Starlink satellites today. And it is launching from Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center here in Florida. The same pad that supports all of SpaceX's Falcon Heavy missions as well as the Commercial Crew Program. But today, just a normal old Falcon 9 with a payload fairing on top. The first stage supporting this mission is Booster 1058 on her third flight. This booster supported the Demo 2 mission, the first crewed flight from the U.S. since 2011, as well as the NASA's 2 communications satellite launch. So a third flight for this booster. And yeah, after launch, the first stage will attempt a drone ship landing on, of course, I Still Love You, which is stationed downrange in the Atlantic Ocean. And we are also expecting a fairing recovery attempt. Both fairing recovery vessels also stationed downrange to try and recover the payload fairings today. Yeah.
All right. So are they going? So we know in the past they've done like scoop them out of the water sort of thing. Are they going for the double fairing catch today? They have both ships out there ready to catch them, or what's the plan there?
If all goes well, that would definitely be the plan number A. Plan letter A.
Number A. What time is it?
Plan number 1 to plan letter A at the last second. That would be the plan A, Das. It's going to depend on the weather and the recovery zone and any technical items that they might be looking for. Usually, they actually do a pull among those recovery teams after liftoff, as the fairings are coming down slowly under their parafoils to make sure that everything is go for a catch attempt. And if they aren't, they can actually just abort catching them and, like you said, let them splash down softly in the water and fish them out. So we won't really know that until later on. But that the plan A will be to, yes, attempt a dual catch of the fairing halves.
Gotcha. All right. And we're a little bit of a technical issue with some of the questions here, so I'm going to grab some manually really quickly. Let's see here. Here's what this is a super chat from Timothy Bridges, and it's in Australian dollars. So coming over from the other side of the world, do we know if there's some underlying issue with all the scrubs? Like what has been going on for the scrubs? I mean, we have some for weather, we've had some for GSE. Is it consistent or is it just bad luck lately?
Yeah, I know it's easy to think that there clearly this can't be a coincidence with how many scrubs we've had, but it really is. Um, we grouped a lot of these scrubs into ground support equipment or GSE problems, and that seems like it's the same problem over and over again on all these different rockets. But in reality, ground support equipment includes a lot of different systems around the pad and near the rocket, and all of those scrubs have been a different actual problem. We're just grouping them under ground support equipment because that's the category, if you would.
Yep.
But it really none of these scrubs have been for the exact same reason, unless you count just weather as a reason. But this isn't some widespread issue. This really is just a coincidence. We did see Antares lift off from Wallops finally the other day. So Antares got off after its GSE scrub. SpaceX is working on the other Falcon 9 mission over at Pad 40. They've actually taken Falcon 9 horizontal, and from my view, I can't tell if it's still on the pad or if they've actually rolled it back to the hangar. Not entirely sure. But the work lights at the pad are on, so maybe the Falcon's still there. We know they're working an issue on the vehicle itself for that mission, so they're working on that. And then ULA is working on a ground side issue, I believe, as well for their Delta IV Heavy mission that's been scrubbed a couple times.
Gotcha.
But really, these are all independent issues that don't really have anything to do with each other. It's just a coincidence that you have this traffic jam on the East Coast here trying to get these missions off.
Yeah. Along the same lines, GPS-3, we know that SpaceX scrubs GPS-3, the other mission that's over there. Is there an ETA for that? Did they
There
reschedule
is
that yet?
not. Both the Falcon 9 GPS-3 SVO4 mission as well as the Delta IV Heavy NROL 44 mission are both to be determined. As far as schedule goes, no new launch dates yet because those teams are both working technical issues to prepare those vehicles for launch.
Gotcha. I saw somebody on Twitter comment that oh, it's this epic picture of all three rockets on three different pads ready to go. And somebody commented, you don't want to see that because that's like there's a backup that usually only happens when there's a backup on the range with a bunch of missions that aren't launching. And it's like being
Yeah.
at the airport. You don't want to see the big line of planes on their taxiway because that's a problem. Like there's some sort of delay or something like that. So epic
Yeah,
pictures when you have all three of them there. But go ahead.
Yeah, on one hand, you like to see so many missions getting ready to go, but at the same time, all three of them are supposed to have launched by now. So it's kind of on one hand, on the other. But you can be excited that there are so many different missions in their final launch campaign
Yeah.
stretches, if you will.
Absolutely, and it's cool to see them all out there, and hopefully they do all get off the pad at some point. Hopefully we get one off the pad and we clear out the backlog a little bit this morning. Let me grab some more questions for you. A couple super chats came in. Grant Hugstat, $5 Australian. Thank you, Grant, for the support there. And then Serguzi, no questions, just a little support for your work with €5 in there. So y'all appreciate the super chats. We're able to get out there. We're able to pay for data and cameras and all sorts of stuff so that we can do these things. I mean, we don't wake up in the morning this early, and Thomas had like an hour drive to get down to the tape. So Thomas has been going since like 4 this morning, something, Thomas?
Yeah, just about.
Geez. And then before this, if you were here on the channel, you may have come over from the Starship SN8 testing stream. Jack and Michael and Mary were holding that stream down for hours this morning. So we're able to do this because of y'all's support. Thank y'all very much for continuing to show up to the streams and stuff like that. Here's a quick question from Rough Riders Show. And I think you just answered this one, so I think Rough Riders might have come in right after you answered, Thomas. But asking, can you see the other Falcon 9 still vertical on Pad 40? And you had said
Right.
no. That one is no
Yeah,
longer.
no, we actually saw Falcon 9 that went horizontal last night. at some point. I don't have an exact time, but last night we saw Falcon 9 was horizontal, and there's nothing vertical at pad 40 right now. In fact, so there is a vehicle still vertical at the Delta 4 Heavy pad, though it is in the mobile servicing tower. And of course, you're looking at a Falcon 9 on 39A, but all the other pads are actually empty at this point. Falcon 9 might be horizontal at 40, but we can't see right now.
Right, because it's sort of under the scrub brush that
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of is all
it's
over.
hard to tell whether you can actually see the bottom of the pad or if there's trees in the way. I can't tell if I'm seeing the bottom or not. So it's
Gotcha.
one or the other.
All right. So let me see if I can grab a couple more questions for you here. Here's a good one concerning like the launch timeline from Luis Bastos, asking how long from liftoff to the satellites being out in orbit. So until payload set, from launch to payload set, about how long is that?
That is an excellent question, and I'm going to ask that someone like check the launch article because they've been changing the launch timeline like a bit on these Starlink missions. And I'm going to interrupt my answer for just a second because we just heard the loud whoosh of the pressurization and fueling systems at pad 39A. It suggests that they are getting ready to fueling and they're right on schedule. Fueling is supposed to start at T-minus 35 minutes, so I bet that is a sign that the pre-fueling pull has gone well. We'll bring you an update as soon as we can confirm that, but it certainly sounds like they're getting ready to start fueling here in a second. But yeah, there you go. You are looking at the launch timeline, and deploy is at about T+1 hour or so, which is a little later than on other Starlink missions. They've been tweaking the launch profile for the Starlink missions a couple times, especially if they've had rideshare payloads with customer payloads on board. Those flight profiles have looked slightly differently. And this one, even though it's only just a standard batch of 60 satellites, looks a little different than the ones we've seen before. So it looks like they might just be tweaking exactly how they're getting these satellites into their correct insertion orbits. But to answer your question, just over 1 hour after liftoff.
Gotcha. Good deal. So there you go, Luis. And here is another one. I think you got this one as well. So we're running into the live stream thing where people come in and you may have just answered a question, but no problem. We understand how live streams go, especially when there's 4,000 people watching. Param Mankad says, are both fairings to be reused? So we know they're trying to catch them, and we assume that if they catch them, they're going to try to reuse them, right?
Absolutely. Of course, the first step in doing that is recovering them. And I believe, unless I'm mixing up the missions, I don't think, well, the GPS mission has brand new fairings. So I know for sure one of the fairing halves on this mission is actually the first fairing to fly a third mission. Granted, hasn't actually flown yet, but it's about to, hopefully. So it's actually another reuse milestone on this mission. But yes, we do believe they're going to try and recover both halves if they can. And assuming that is successful, that they will definitely make a reuse attempt. And I just saw a tweet from our friend Michael Baylor in the back that says weather has turned green and that propellant loading has started. So
just
excellent.
So propellant loading is underway.
Awesome. And it is a gorgeous day out here. There are some clouds kind of behind the press site, but I don't think they're going to be too much of an issue. And looking at the pad, I mean, you're seeing a gorgeous sunrise right now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, do you want me to zoom out a little bit? Because I can show you like the real sunrise, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah,
Right,
yeah. If you want, just whatever you want to share with us.
Chat,
out
go
there.
easy on my camera work.
Oh my gosh, earthquake hits Cape Canaveral. Jeez. I'm kidding. Hey, sorry, Thomas.
You have to adjust your exposure, Thomas.
Yeah, let me do that real quick. When I first got here, it was still effectively nighttime. So
yeah, you were setting up in the dark, weren't you?
Yep.
There we go.
There
Wow.
Look at that. Oh, wow.
And like I said, it's not very windy here. The turning basin right in front of me is almost dead flat.
Wow. That's pretty. Especially you can see the reflection of those clouds way off in the distance. Again, those clouds are way on the horizon. They're not over the
Those are
launch
not
site.
nearby. They're not an issue.
Yeah, those are way downrange.
Although it is worth noting that weather that we actually cannot see from here is still a factor because they do take into account weather at the recovery zone, both the fairing recovery zone and the stage 1 landing zone out in the ocean. Both weather in those areas is also considered when they're evaluating whether weather is green.
Yep.
So we can't see that from here, but based on the most recent call out, it does sound that weather is good to go. So
good deal. And again, y'all, we are just over 30 minutes from the launch here. The launch attempt, let's be honest, the launch attempt, but the weather has just gone green, which is something we were hoping for when we first started the stream about 15 minutes ago. The weather was red due to some clouds, and it looks like it has gone green. So hopefully we keep marching towards this launch of the 60 Starlink satellite. So again, we're live. Thomas Burkhart with NASA Spaceflight is out there running the camera at Cape Canaveral. He's standing right next to the countdown clock, that historic countdown clock there at the Kennedy Space Center press site. And over on the left of the screen, you can see 39A, where that Falcon 9 is sitting in just about 30 minutes, hopefully launching these Starlink satellites into orbit. But if you have questions for us, tag us in chat at NASA Spaceflight. And then I know we're over on Twitch as well, same sort of deal. If you have a question for us, you can put it over on Twitch as well if you're watching from there. So let's see here. Here's a good one over from Twitch from I Need a Better Username with a bunch of underscores. That's actually
I
their
disagree.
username.
Great username.
I wonder if this launch is going to trigger the upper atmosphere exhaust effect. So tell us a little bit about the pre or post, the sort of jellyfish or the nebula effect that happens sometimes. And what do we expect to see that today? The sun is already coming
I
up.
don't think so. Usually, so what he's referring to is if it is still dark at the actual launch site. However, that once the rocket starts lifting off the pad and gains some altitude, flies into sunlight, because obviously if you're higher up, you will see the sun earlier. If that happens, you can see the exhaust from the rocket get lit up by the sunlight. Unfortunately, for that specifically, the sun is rising right now, and it's going to be light here at the launch site prior to liftoff in about half an hour. So I don't think we'll get that exact effect. No question that it's going to be beautiful with this weather.
Yeah,
it won't
no
have
kidding.
that backlit effect, I don't think, though.
Yeah, and again, y'all, that the effect, the sort of nebula, the jellyfish effect happens when it's dark on the ground where you're watching from, but the sunlight actually hits the plume of the rocket. It's sort of daytime where the rocket is because the rocket's gone high enough to go into the sunlight, I guess. The beams of sunlight. What's the technical term for that? I don't know. The sunlight, whatever. So today, if the sun is rising here, as you can see, it's just about to be rising there on the horizon. That's a lot of rising. We would not expect to see the big jellyfish plume effect. You usually want the rocket to launch about 30 minutes before sunrise or 30 minutes after sunset if you want to get that effect. But good question. And I can tell you're a connoisseur of launches there, better username, because that is definitely a sight to see. But it'll be a beautiful launch here this morning, especially with the still winds and the nice clear sky. I mean, up above the pad, Thomas, is it clear above the pad? There's a couple little
There are
fluffy
one
clouds.
or two very thin clouds, but really the sky to the east from here, which is where Falcon 9 is heading, is very clear. So hopefully this holds out and weather everywhere else cooperates, because this would be a great view for my first attempt at tracking a rocket with this camera. Go easy on me, chat.
You'll do fine, Thomas. You'll do fine. See, the problem is you're gonna let out my secret that it's not that hard to point the camera at the rocket. Jeez.
I'm gonna go ahead and put the camera back on the pad though, because fueling should be underway and we might see some vapors and things starting to form.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just crossed under T minus 30 minutes. You can see the T minus time in the upper left hand corner there, T minus 29, 26, 25, 24. That is the time till countdown. Now, the window today, Thomas, there is a window, but they just have one attempt in the window. Is that correct?
Right. So for these Starlink missions, they are aiming for a very precise orbital plane, and therefore the launch window is not very long at all. In fact, it's only about 10 minutes, or 20 minutes, sorry, 10 minutes on either side.
Okay.
However, because of that, and because that 10-minute time frame on either side is less than the recycle point of a Falcon 9, basically if they targeted the opening of the window, they very likely wouldn't have time to recycle and try again. So instead of giving them that extra time to work with, they usually just target the center of the window, which optimizes the vehicle's performance anyway. So it is effectively an instantaneous launch attempt. Every once in a while, ahead of launch, especially if they're tracking weather or something, they'll move it, like, say, to the end of the window to try and let weather get a couple extra minutes to clear out and things like that.
Yep.
But today, as far as we know, they're still targeting the center of that window, which is at 7:29 a.m. local time, 11:29 UTC. And that is effectively an instantaneous window. And now that we have started fueling, and I think you might be able to see just a little bit of vapors near the bottom of the rocket now. Now that we have started fueling, they are committed to that T0. If any hold comes up during the countdown at this point, that would be a scrub for the day and have to try again. They do have a backup opportunity tomorrow morning, should that be needed. But as of right now, everything proceeding nominally and on schedule.
Gotcha. Let's grab a couple super chats here really quickly. Another 5 Australian from Grant Huckstead. Grant, thank you again for tossing in the 5 Australian dollars there. And there's another one apparently, just over and over again. Another one from Grant. It's not going to change on the screen, but I put the same thing up there 2 different times. So Grant, thank you for the 10 Australian total. CANP Railroad with $5 saying, been up all night with Texas Tank Watchers, Horsemoney, Whip Crack, yeehaw. And
Someone should fill me in. What happened overnight in Boca Chica? Because I was sleeping to make sure I could be rested and come here today. So
I can help with that.
yeah, go for it.
I can tell you that Grant did a lot of super chats today already. That's what I can update on you. We got a lot of super chats from Grant. There was a bit of venting. They loaded maybe a little bit of liquid nitrogen into Starship S8. Mary's camera caught some amazing venting noises, but that was about it. Just a tiny bit of liquid nitrogen, never a full cryo-proof test. And then there were some cool RCS thruster firings at 4:37 a.m. local time that also got picked up nicely on the ambient audio, but other than some venting and RCS firings, that was about it. Not the full cryo-proof test.
Still
Gotcha.
waiting for cryoproof in Boca, but good. Thanks for the update.
And thanks to Grant for all the super chats already today.
Absolutely.
As always. And let's see here. We got Future Martian. Speaking of frequent super chatter, Future Martian is in there for another $20 saying, absolutely beautiful shot. Thank you always. Future Martian, you're just one of those names that shows up just about every single stream. So we appreciate you there with the continued support. And then lastly, Carl Furstenberg saying, let's all congratulate Roger Penrose, Reinhard Genzel, and Andrea Gez. I probably butchered some of those name pronunciations, but for their award with the SEK 200, referring to the awarding of the Nobel Prize in Physics concerning black hole formations and black hole observations there. So, Carl, appreciate you there with the support, and definitely cool. I haven't read too terribly much about that, but I do know that that is referring to the Nobel Prize, which they decided to actually split up for the different scientists, I guess mathematicians and scientists that worked on that. So thank you for the chat there. Let's see. There's Grant again. We'll just go ahead and finish this up. Grant with another 5 Australian. So again, y'all, is that another one? Like they're just showing up separately, Grant? Are you just doing $5 over and over again? It looks like it.
Well, we appreciate it, and we appreciate everyone who's doing the super chats. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And that whole sky is turning pink there. Look at that shot, y'all. There's a little
And
bit
let
of
me know. I'm trying to adjust the gain as that happens because again, we started in pitch black. So if you need me to make more adjustments, just let me know because you guys have a better eye for that than I do. So
yeah. Did you like gain it up a bit there? Gain it up a
I've
bit.
been lowering the gain as it got brighter out.
Ah, okay. I don't know. Do we just want to run it on auto and see what it looks like, or people in chat are like, "Oh my gosh, auto." Because usually during the day, I run it on auto exposure on those cameras. Maybe we'll look at see what that looks like instead of you constantly trying to switch it around.
I just lowered it almost all the way down back to the normal setting.
You just lowered it all the way down, so it's like manually dumped all the way down. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Chat, I'll let y'all decide on that one. Let us know. We just dropped the exposure. It's not the type of camera where it's like change the exact shutter speed and stuff like that, right? It's a video camera. Maybe I guess bump it back up a little bit there, Thomas. If there's not a
okay.
Yeah. It went from pink. It went from a nice pink to like a muted gray now. So
It is becoming less pink out for the record, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. All right, and some more super chats coming in. Jerwa, whoa, hang on a second. Jerwa just topped in $50 US and says thanks, Grant. So sort of the meta super chat, not thanking us for anything we do, but thanking Grant for supporting us in what we do this early in the morning. Jerwa, thank you so much for the super generous $50 there. We appreciate the significant amount of support, and we appreciate you thanking Grant there. Yeah, actually, Thomas, that's got a little bit more color in the shot now, so we can see the green of the trees and we can see the orange of the windsock that is not moving much, which is what we like to see. So that looks pretty good right there. Let's see here. William Toll says, "How do I super chat?" Like that, William. Congratulations,
You did it.
figured it out. You did it. You did it. Go you. Then Marcus Langer with the €5 saying, "Hope Scrub Timber ends today." Yeah, we're 6 days into Scrubtober, still trying to end Scrub Timber.
Yeah,
Like,
really. Oh my gosh.
did anybody grab one of those shirts that we made? The eat, what was it? Eat, sleep,
Oh yeah, eat, sleep,
scrub, repeat shirts.
Yeah, I've got one of those on the way. Don't worry.
Like
The question is, what will happen first? Will these missions get off the ground, or will I get my shirt first? It might be close.
like, when do you wear that shirt? Do you wear it in advance, like after a lot of scrubs?
It's a
seems like you're-
reverse psychology thing. If you wear it to the launch, they won't scrub. Clearly, right?
Well, see, what I would do, I would wear it under another shirt, and then if
Then
it
take
scrubbed,
off
I
the
would
top
rip off
shirt.
the top shirt and be like, "Scrub Timber told you, I knew it." Like, and then if it didn't scrub, I wouldn't tell anybody I had that shirt on underneath.
Genius plan.
You see, even the Rocket, I wouldn't even mention it to the Rocket. Craig Hare, I'm just going to go with Hare because that's how your name is spelled. 5 Australians saying more AUD, Australian dollars. Thank you all. Thanks, Mary. Stop designing so many t-shirts. I can't keep up. That's over on my Twitch channel. I've been doing this for a long time, and some of the people are very proud of having all the t-shirts that I've ever made over the what is it, over the scene of 5-6 years. And that's a lot of t-shirts. Like, when you do it for long enough, you end up with a closet that's filled with t-shirts. I hope that my wife is still asleep, because every now and then she sneaks Rocket related shirts out of the closet and they end up in the trash. I have a lot of t-shirts. Let's put it that way. She was well within her rights to do that. Let's say that. I have a lot of Rocket shirts. But Craig, thank you for the support and the kind words. Grant is doing 2 more 5 Australians. That was times 2.
Goodness.
So Grant continuing on with the generous support. And then Brent Barlow, $5 saying, "Thanks guys for all the hard work and coverage." Brent, you keep showing up and we'll keep running our mouths as we wait for rockets to launch. But right now,
More Grant super chats than launches recently. I mean, come on.
there you go.
Thomas, Thomas, you have to lower the exposure again as it keeps getting brighter.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna need to switch it to auto, or else we're gonna keep having.
There's a vent in T-20.
Yeah, mess with it, and that is the big vent that we expect to see at T-20 minutes. That big, what is that, like a line purge? Are they topping off the tank? I know there's a big vent at T-20, but do we know exactly what that vent is?
It's the top of my head. I'm second guessing myself. I think it is just a vent of the liquid oxygen tank on stage 1. Well, no, because the vent's from the erector. So I think it's a liquid oxygen vent. I know it's not from the vehicle itself. I think it is just from the lines on the transporter erector with all those umbilicals that go into the vehicle.
Yep.
I believe it is just at T-20 minutes the fuel lines on the pad do a big vent.
Yeah, gotcha. So again, y'all, that is expected. What you see, the
Yes.
venting coming out of the rocket, the vapors, that is some condensed humidity. Some condensed humidity. They're doing a vent, and that happens every launch at T-20 minutes. You look for it. If you see that at T-20 minutes, you have a pretty good indication that things are continuing to progress for the launch. So that is not anything to be concerned about. We want to see that vent at that point in time. So we will continue on with some more questions here. Let me see if we've got a speed run a couple. Let's see. Oh, Fraser. Fraser's talking about an old Angry Triangle shirt. Your Angry Triangle shirt finally died. One of my original shirts for the Twitch channel. That's an old school shirt. If you had the Angry Triangle shirt. Here's a question from Andy McCracken. Do we know how many times a fairing can be reused? So what's the high score for fairing reuse for SpaceX? Do we know?
You know, Elon has kept reiterating that after 10 flights of a booster that they want to do some extensive work on it, and then the upper limit is close to somewhat like 100 flights of a booster. I don't think we've gotten similar numbers for fairings, though. I think today is the first time they're flying one for a 3rd time.
Right.
So, we're still pretty low on numbers there because fairing reuse is relatively new, especially compared to booster reuse. But I don't think Elon has actually mentioned any sort of upper limit they're looking at as far as fairings go. I don't think we know that.
Gotcha. And it probably depends on exactly how each fairing is recovered. Like if it
Yes,
splashes in the water, I imagine it's different than being caught in the nets. And we know they're still working on the batting 1,000 on catching those things on the nets. And then sometimes the weather is no bueno, and so they don't want to delay the entire mission. The booster can land, but the fairings are going to have to splash down. So they're probably still gathering a lot of data with the performance of those fairings and the longevity of those fairings, I guess you could say,
absolutely.
depending
Yep.
on how they're recovered. But good question there, Andy. Let's see here. Scrubtoberfest. I like it. Scrubtoberfest. uh, let's see. Just scrolling through. And I'm going to grab some more super chats here. Oh, here's one. Here we go. Dallas Hawk asking about another rocket that we've seen launch from 39A. If that's recently launching from 39A, we know that the other rocket that launches from there is the Falcon Heavy. Are there any more launches of Falcon Heavy on the manifest? Do we know when the next launch of Falcon Heavy will be, Thomas?
Absolutely. Falcon Heavy's manifest has actually been growing a bit recently, especially because SpaceX was selected to provide national security launches as far as the NSSL Phase 2 program for the United States Department of Defense. So Falcon Heavy missions manifest will continue to grow in the near future. The next launch is not until no earlier than the end of February in 2021, next year. That mission will be the USSF 44 mission, a classified mission for the United States Space Force. And that again, yeah, launching next year. That mission will be interesting because it'll be the first Falcon Heavy mission with a different recovery profile than the first three. The two side boosters will land on drone ships out in the ocean. Of course, I still love you and just read the instructions. And then the center core will actually fly in an expendable configuration and not be recovered. And again, that decision is due to the exact performance requirements of that launch. But that will be very interesting, and we're all looking forward to that. The first side booster for that mission was actually just tested at McGregor the other day, and SpaceX tweeted out confirmation that it was in fact a side booster for that mission. So they are into the phase of the pre-launch campaign that they are testing the boosters, all three of which will be brand new, and getting them ready to ship over here to Kennedy Space Center and prepare for launch.
Gotcha. So I don't even think I'm going to answer this one. You Whatism asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you think the launch will go, with 1 being a scrub and 10 being 100% go with no thought of being a scrub?
That's just asking to jinx it. Let's not
Yeah,
answer that.
look, rockets have really good hearing, okay? There are a lot of different sensors that are installed on these rockets, like pressure sensors and fuel flow sensors and all sorts of sensors, and they have really good scrub conversation detectors. I don't know if that's a thing. Scrub conversation detectors. Look, we don't talk about scrubs. The rockets can hear you, and we don't want to jinx it. So I'm hoping that we get a beautiful launch on this beautiful morning. It's crazy how quickly it went from that pink to a more normal. Okay, now it's normal colored outside.
And unfortunately, there are like a very distant deck of clouds that is right behind the pad. So right now you're actually seeing gray in the background, when in reality the skies are very blue and clear. It's just not directly behind the pad.
Yeah, yeah. If you zoomed out a little bit, you'd see we still see the like cumulus clouds way in the distance, but those are not
Here, I'll
over
do
the
it real
launch pad,
quick.
right? Let's see here. Show me some blue skies.
I don't know how well you can see that, but it is. You can see there's some clouds off in the distance, but the sky is clear above.
Yeah, yeah. It's all sort of blending together for us there right now, so no worries, no worries. Thomas, real quick, I will make an observation that the tripod is tilted just a hair.
I was just
So
about to say that. I'm gonna adjust that really quick.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I could put the Starship tilt indicator on the screen, and we can see if it's straight or not. Hang on, let's check the Starship tilt indicator, and I think if you tilted it, yeah, just a little bit to the top, needs to go to the right just a hair.
Okay.
This is where we are, y'all. We literally have a 90-degree ruler that we put on the screen, and that's how we see if the shot is tilted or not. Totally
Very scientific,
professional.
everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Totally professional camera operation here.
I adjusted it a little bit.
This is your first time operating the camera, tracking the rocket solo, Thomas?
It is, as a matter of, well, the first time was going to be a previous launch attempt for this exact mission, which of course scrubbed. But yes, Chris Gebhardt is usually the guy behind the camera down here. He is not here today, so I'm flying solo. So we'll see how it goes.
Gotcha. And I think if you tilted it just a little bit more, did you see the loosening thing on the bottom of the tripod? It's a ball head.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Somebody briefed you on how that contraption works. I'll grab some super chats real quick while we're doing that. Ben Hockley, another 5 Australian, saying "Go Australia." Thank you, Ben, for the $5. Jalen Duncan saying, let's see here. Thought I saw somewhere that Falcon Heavy will have a double water landing. Am I crazy? When's the next Falcon Heavy launch? So we just talked about the next Falcon Heavy launch coming up no earlier than, I think, is it February 2021?
Yes. So is the official no earlier than date from a recent presentation by a member of the United States Space Force is no earlier than February 28th, 2021. So realistically, you're looking at the end of February, so no earlier than March. But yes,
Gotcha.
Spring next year is what you're looking at.
Gotcha. And
Yeah.
is there any official word on double water landings there?
Yeah, the 2 side boosters will land on drone ships downrange instead of returning to the landing zones here at Cape Canaveral. That is confirmed officially.
That is officially
so,
confirmed.
So that's what they're referring to there. Yep.
Cool. All right. So Jalen, you're not crazy, or you're kind of crazy. You gave us $5, but you're not crazy about the Falcon Heavy water landing. So we appreciate you, Michael. What's going on?
I was about to say we did address exposure again on the camera.
Yeah, it keeps like blowing out there. So we'll get that adjusted really quickly. I'll keep doing some super chats in the meantime.
Here we go. Tell me how that looks.
That looks good.
All right. And Andrew Donald with 20 Australians saying, my Texas Tank Watchers hoodie arrived in Melbourne, Australia today. Thanks to all the NASA spaceflight. Thanks to all at NASA spaceflight, especially Mary. Mary, your dawn photos are so beautiful. You're not kidding about that, Andrew. Thank you for the kind words and grabbing one of the Texas Tank Watchers Horse Winnie Whip Crack hoodies there. Of course, that's a reference to our ability to stare at tanks being tested down in South Texas at the SpaceX Starship facility. We call ourselves the Texas Tank Watchers, and we're staring at those tanks for, I don't know, 12 hours straight. But we appreciate the support there, Andrew Donald. And you are not kidding. The dawn photos that Mary catches, she is up just about every morning catching the sunrise down there at Boca Chica. And those are some fantastic shots that she catches. So thank you for the support. Jackson Calderwood saying, will this be visible over Melbourne, Australia? How do we check? So Melbourne, Australia, what
At
is
that point, it would have to be maybe the second stage if it's on orbit doing some maneuvers. I have no idea, though, where those are taking place with respect to.
Yeah, I will see if I can look that up for you there, Jackson, and see if it'll be visible, because you get that weirdness where you have to have it and you need some light. Is the stage still going to be firing when it gets there? Do we have the track? Yada, yada, yada. So I'll see if I can look that up for you, but appreciate the 5 Australian there. Blake Parsons, 38.99 Australian. It must be like regular daytime in Australia, because there are a lot of Aussies
with this
in
launch
chat.
window clearly aligned perfectly with the Australian audience. So
Yeah.
Hey to everybody watching from Australia.
We appreciate the strong Australian showing this morning. So Blake Parsons with a 38.99 Australian. Thank you, Blake. Indoresu saying condensed humidity in Florida is called rain. Condensed humidity. I mean, a lot of times condensed humidity is venting from rockets in Florida. One of the few places you can say that.
Fairly frequent occurrence.
So I'm just gonna say there's a lot of venting that happens when they scrub so constantly. David Thomas, thank you for the $5. I don't know if you have a chicken sandwich for us as well, but we appreciate you. Uncle Ned saying all these people thinking y'all are SpaceX. We're not SpaceX. We're NASA Spaceflight, which is a news organization that covers all sorts of stuff, but we're not SpaceX SpaceX Actual. That is a different company. We just like watching the rockets launch. Let's see here. Grant Hugstad with another $5. Thank you, Grant. David Mahieu. First rule of Flight Scrub is we don't talk about Flight Scrub. That's almost another t-shirt that needs to be made. The first rule of Flight Scrub is you don't talk about Flight Scrub. Travel
Minor
me.
pre-launch update: the KSC security alligators have shown up. So
Aha! It's always a good day when they show up. I like it. Travel me happy. Thank you for the 549. We've got Mishri Alferis, a new membership, the first new membership of the stream there. Thank you for joining the NASA Spaceflight membership club there, Miss Ari. Thank you very much. Billy Hill, 2 Australian, appreciate you as well. And then Mr. Chan here. Mr. Chan saying, I watch every video live you guys do from Australia. The love you guys have for us who watch and support you guys is pure respect. Thank you so much. And as a photographer, I'm so jealous. Mr. Chan, thank you very much for the kind words and the rocket in camera emojis this morning. So we appreciate the support in the 14.99 Australian there. So let's check back in with the timeline. What are we looking at here? Just over 7 minutes.
Yeah.
It's looking
So-
like.
So at this point in the countdown, engine showdown is actually going to start because we're just approaching the T-minus 7-minute mark. That will be where they thermally condition the 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage to prepare for ignition in a few minutes. They're basically going to run just a little bit of super cold liquid oxygen through the plumbing of the engines to help cool those engine components down so that when the full flow of fuel and liquid oxygen comes through, that the engines don't sustain any damage or anything at ignition. As of right now, no technical issues being tracked, and the weather is still green, so we are tracking for an on-time liftoff here at 7:29.
Actually, quick update, Thomas. They are now tracking cumulus clouds along the flight trajectory.
Okay, has that been observed, red, or are they just
I
keeping
think
an eye
it's
on
just something that they're watching.
it? Okay.
So not officially read, but they're just watching it.
Just
to
something
clarify.
that their presenter mentioned as a possible concern.
All right.
The launch
Gotcha.
teams can continue to evaluate weather criteria throughout the countdown. I'm pretty sure as late as T-minus 30 seconds, they can make a final call as far as weather is concerned. So they're going to keep looking at that for the next few minutes, and as we get really close to liftoff, they will make one final check, and only if the weather is acceptable, they will actually launch, but they're going to keep an eye on it.
Gotcha. And I'm doing a couple technical things here, Thomas. Maybe give a rundown of the mission one more time. A lot of people have maybe joined us
Sure.
since the last time we talked about it. So
Absolutely. So if you are just joining us, you are looking live at Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center here in Florida. A Falcon 9 is almost fully fueled at this point, just a few minutes left to go in the countdown, preparing for a liftoff at 7:29 a.m. local time, 11:29 UTC. And on board this mission are 60 Starlink satellites, the 13th Starlink mission, destined for low Earth orbit. This is the third flight of this Falcon 9 first stage, Booster 1058. Which previously supported the Demo 2 missions and the NASA's 2 communication satellite mission. Obviously, a brand new second stage, and then the fairings, one half is brand new, and the other half is actually on its third flight, so a fairing reuse milestone on this mission. First fairing to fly a third mission. Of course, all of that is contingent on actually flying today, and right now the SpaceX teams are observing some weather downrange. However, we don't believe that has actually been observed red yet, at least they haven't called that out. And I just saw a tweet from Elon Musk who says 5 minutes from launch looks good so far, so that's a good sign. We do believe that Elon Musk is actually here at Cape Canaveral somewhere. I know he said he was actually going to come over to Cape Canaveral and review a lot of the hardware and launch procedures, especially after a couple back-to-back scrubs. So he is in town to see launch today. But yeah, as of right now, everything is tracking for an on-time liftoff. For the latest Starlink mission. Continue to send any questions you have in chat, and if you tag us with @NASA Spaceflight, we will do our best to answer them. In a couple minutes, we're going to focus solely on the mission, but after liftoff, we will likely have some more time to answer some more questions. But right now, we're just a few minutes away. Engine showdown will be underway, and the final topping off of the fuel tanks will be underway. The next countdown milestone will be a T-minus 1 minute. At that point, the Falcon 9's onboard computers will take over control of the countdown and go put Falcon 9 into startup mode, where they pressurize the tanks and get ready for liftoff. And that is the final minute of the countdown, leading to engine ignition start at T-minus 3 seconds and liftoff at T-minus 0, should everything proceed nominally. We are in the
Alrighty.
final minutes of the countdown today.
And Thomas, what's the status on the camera setting for the exposure? Are we continuing to manually do that, or can we set it to
I'm
auto?
not finding any auto setting for that. Maybe I'm blind, but
So there should be a little there should be a thing on the screen that's an M. Is there a little
yep.
checkbox that's an M? If that's checked, it's in manual mode. If that's unchecked, it should be in auto. Does it have like a little orange indicator?
Yeah, hold on. Let's see. I've got a manual option and there's other options, none of which just say auto, but there's a couple that have AEM. There's like 3 different types of auto exposure, it looks like. I'm going to use the first one because I'm assuming that is default.
Yeah, that's probably good. We'll just run it that way. We've got a little bit of haze there, but go ahead, Michael.
That's good. Important update. Weather is go.
Aha!
Excellent, good to hear.
And we can hop over from the SpaceX feed as well, and you can see the rocket is just about ready to go. There, you can
They
see a
just
lot of.
had the loudspeakers here at Kennedy Space Center just gave another alert that launch is coming up in just a couple minutes, so everything on track.
All right, good deal. And there's the water tower spilling over.
That was a huge stream delay on that SpaceX feed, DOS. I think it might be way behind live. You might need to check that.
All right, I'll have a look.
Continue to show you, obviously we have our camera, which is what you're looking at right now, and you can see the water tower overflowing a bit. How do you check if your water towers fill? Well, keep filling it until water starts falling out. That is completely nominal, just a part of the sound suppression water system at 39A. That's completely nominal and expected. But as far as pre-launch, everything is tracking on good to go for an on-time liftoff. Weather is go, and no technical issues being tracked. So,
yeah, Michael, that's what I'm getting from SpaceX. It's on a 30-second delay this morning. That is a fresh refresh on both my home computer and the server.
I guess their Twitter feed has lots of delay. That's interesting. But okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get Thomas on internal audio.
Yeah. All right, Thomas, you ready to go there? So go ahead and mute your mic. And we should be on microphone audio. Check that for us real quick.
Testing, 1, 2, 3 on the
all right, we got
non-real-time audio now.
Yep, you're good to go.
All right, so I'm going to be responding to DOS a couple seconds delay now because we're not on real-time audio, but this is the high-quality microphone to catch that rumble of Falcon 9 as she lifts off, so it's important.
You got it. See, I can respond to Thomas in real time because I can listen to what he says.
Go easy on my rocket tracking.
Is the tripod unlocked? Did you loosen up the locking nut on the tripod? Yes, the rocket blessing. Make sure you have pan and tilt. All right, cool, perfect. So again, y'all, our countdown clock there may be a little bit off. It will disappear shortly.
Up, we have stage 1 ignition and liftoff. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket on the 13th Starlink mission from 39A. Finally, the curse of Scrubs at Cape Canaveral is broken. Successful liftoff of pad 39A for Falcon 9. Falcon 9 is pitching downrange to obtain the proper launch azimuth and heading downrange to make the horizontal velocity needed to achieve low Earth orbit. You can see the contrail now, Falcon 9 going supersonic and passing through maximum aerodynamic pressure to the point of maximum stress on the vehicle. The 9mm1D engines will be throttling down for this phase.
And really quickly, y'all, I am getting that SpaceX feed on almost a 30-second delay. That is from the fire hose there So the SpaceX feed is going to be significantly delayed from Thomas's camera, about 30 seconds. But it's no big deal. It's the non-scrubbed launch so nice, we'll watch it twice.
Right now, the 9 Merlin 1D engines will have throttled back up to full power. The next milestone will be MECO, main engine cutoff of the 9 first stage engines, stage separation, and then ignition of Falcon 9's MVAC engine on the upper stage. And you can see, someone mentioned it earlier, the exhaust from the first stage is getting lit up just a little bit by sunlight, so it's a very small backlit effect.
We'll take it. On the SpaceX feed there, you can see that plume expansion. As the rocket gets up into higher altitudes, there's less air pressure there to constrain the plume into the little pencil-thin, pointy bit of fire that you're used to seeing, so you get that big expanded plume. That's actually part of the reason we have nozzles on our rocket engines.
Up, and there we have it. We have main engine cutoff.
Yep. And we'll get SpaceX on the 30-second
Let's see, I'm going to keep
here.
tracking it. Let's see if, and there we have it. We have stage 2 ignition. You can actually see it. Oh, it's going to pass by on a cloud. No. We caught just
Nice,
a glimpse
Thomas.
of stage 2 ignition there. I'm going to keep looking just in case it shows up again, but I think that might be it. Zoom out a bit. That is actually,
wow,
that's not even a cloud. I apologize. That is the remains of Falcon 9's exhaust.
It's its own plume. So I wonder if it's going to go straight down range or if it's going to go.
Yeah,
come
we
out the
have
side of
lost
it.
visual here from the press site.
Oh, look at that plume, though. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm looking from my the naked eye. I don't see it anymore, so I think we lost it. Still a lingering rumble of Falcon, though.
Yeah, the Mark 1 eyeball there, huh? So, Thomas, we're going to take you back to real-time audio. So, unmute your local microphone.
Okay. Check 1 2 3. Back on real time.
Yep, we got you back. Thank you. And there was payload fairing SEP, which would have happened about 30 seconds ago in the real world. But let's hop over to the SpaceX feed. You can see stage 1 on the left-hand side. Those grid fins have deployed as it begins to orient itself for re-entry on the first stage, targeting a landing downrange on the drone ship. Second stage on the right-hand side continues to burn. There's a couple cameras they switched to there, one on either side of that Merlin vacuum engine. And you can see the engine bell heating up there and the exhaust on the backside. You can't really see the exhaust up there. It's so thin, you don't get a big plume. You just get that propulsion from the engine. You will usually see a little bit of chunks of ice flying and stuff like that. So if you see a little bit of chunk of ice, don't scream that it's a UFO. It's very likely that we'll see some ice. There went one right there. There was a chunk of ice. Called it. Jeez. And looks like things. Nope, there's another big old chunk of ice right there on the engine. So nobody needs to scream that those are UFOs or this is CGI. It's just water in its solid state. Don't freak out. And you can see the Earth approaching on the left-hand side there. Thomas, are you seeing the feed as well?
Yes, I am watching the feed, and it looks like what is happening right now as second stage continues onto orbit. The first stage has deployed its grid fins and is preparing for re-entry to head
Yep.
back towards, of course, I Still Love You, for another landing.
You got it. So we have a couple minutes left in that second stage burn, correct?
Yes, I believe so. We will actually see the entry burn and landing burn of the first stage first, which will occur in just about 2 minutes. And then shortly after that, the second stage will shut down and enter a coast phase. There is a second stage 2 burn I think about 50 minutes after launch. And then that will precede payload deployment.
Gotcha. So today, probably not expecting that we'll stay live that entire coast phase. But we'll answer some questions and see where that leaves us. How's that sound?
Kennedy Space Center has thanked the rocket launch gods for another non-scrub finally, because there's a rainbow at the press site right now.
Is there really?
Yeah, I'd have to turn the camera all the way around to like the press buildings and stuff, so I'm not going to do that. But behind the
Gotcha.
press buildings, there's a rainbow today. So finally, a liftoff from Cape Canaveral. We've been waiting for so many attempts, and we finally had one go.
Yep. And there's the curve of the Earth there. You can see the black of space and then all those clouds. Wow. I mean, it really looks like Falcon 9 is going to be coming down through that cloud deck. So that is going to be an interesting visual. See if we can maintain the signal as it comes down through the clouds. But look at that
And any second now, we should begin the entry burn as Falcon 9
right there.
slows itself down and protects it for re-entry. There you go.
So what it's doing there, it's actually using the exhaust of the engines as sort of a what is it? A supersonic retro propulsion. It's like a heat shield. And funnily enough, lighting the engines can actually help protect the rocket from some of the reentry. Look at that. God, that's cool. Also see some thruster firings there as well. You can see the grid fins turning on occasion as they help steer the rocket. Still up this high, not a lot of atmosphere, but so you'll see those thrusters firing, but the grid fins become a lot more effective as they get a little bit into the thicker atmosphere. Look at this. This looks like a scene from Top Gun or something. Come on. Oh
right
no.
on cue. Right on cue. The stream
No.
dropped.
I wanted to see it go through the clouds. Jeez.
There is a quick peek at Of Course I Still Love You out in the ocean, so we will hopefully see Falcon 9 again, standing proud on the landing deck.
It actually looks like it's got some rain going on there, or at least
Yeah, it
some
looks
recent
like
rain.
the lens is a little wet.
Yeah, some drops of water on the camera mounted there on the drone ship. And you can also see the sort of consistent overcast up above the drone ship that rocket was going to be coming down through. If you were there and looking up, it would be crazy to see a rocket come out of the clouds like that.
Yeah, recently the last RTLS landing here at Cape Canaveral for the Salcom 1B mission, there was a bit of that. It kind of emerged from the clouds and began its landing burn. It was awesome to see.
God. So the next big event is going to be this landing burn that should be happening any second. You usually get the indication that it's happening because something on the drone ship lights up and you get a glint of the rocket's sort of orangish glare, honestly.
Yep,
Maybe
and
things
there
will
you
start
go.
to
You can see the
shake.
camera vibrating a bit. It looks like engine ignition has occurred.
Let's see what we get. Will there be a rocket on the drone ship? Usually there, everything lights up and stick a landing.
Touchdown!
Dude.
A third landing for Booster 1058, who will fly once more at least after another successful launch and landing.
That just looks easy at this point. It's just
They're
like, oh
making
yeah, there it
look
is.
Easy.
Yeah, it's not easy. Don't get us
It's
wrong.
not
It's
at
not
all.
easy. That is right there in the middle of the circle, it looks like from this perspective. And it may still be actively drizzling. I don't know if that's an effect of the rocket making the drops drizzle or move around on the lens, but it still looks like the drops are sort of jiggling around a little bit. I don't know if it's drizzle or if that's just the energy of like the shake of the rocket or something made the drop run down. And was that Seco? That looked like that was
Yes, we
actually
did have, I was
Seco
about
as
to say,
well.
we had shutdown of the upper stage, Seco 1. That second stage will now enter a long coast phase before a brief reignition of the second stage and payload deployment. Payload deploy is not expected for over an hour after launch. But as Das and Michael have just cut to, we have finally have that view that we always want to see after a launch attempt here, an empty launch pad. Pad 39A no longer has a Falcon 9 on it, and the next time it does have a Falcon 9 on it, might very well be the next crewed flight from the U.S. soil, the Crew 1 mission. So we're going to keep an eye on that, but a successful early phase of launch for today's Starlink mission.
Excellent. We had the for a second there we had a really cool shot. We can see the shutdown second stage there, but there's the trajectory. You can see it's going to be passing over. What part of Canada is that? Newfoundland? Is that the northeastern coast of Canada? Is Newfoundland, isn't it? I think it is. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that. I've never been up that way, but I guess I've been to Maine, but I didn't go across the border. So you can see it tracking up that way, but it's just coasting again. There are the Starlink satellites. That's what I was trying to get you. The curve of the Earth with the clouds. God, stick on the satellites for just a second. You can see that stack of 60 Starlink satellites, literally almost like IKEA flat packed on top of the rocket there. They're literally just stacked on top of each other. And then there's a rod, a tension rod that sort of holds them in place. And when it's time to release them, the tension rod just sort of disconnects and floats off the side. And the satellites actually fan out. A lot of people have said it looks sort of like a deck of cards fanning out, flanning out, fawning out. I don't even know. It's still early. But that is T plus 11. There's the Starlink satellites. That is a stack of satellites. You're looking up one side of the stack there. And they're almost in like security camera mode where it just switches between the feeds every couple seconds. I feel like I'm going to see somebody shoplifting. It would be quite a feat to shoplift a Starlink satellite off the rocket at this point. At any point,
Yes.
really. But especially
Even
at
more
this point.
impressive now, though.
Yes. So I'll point out really quickly over on the Thomas Cam at the Cape, we have that launch pad, and I like to make a point of this. It's my very favorite view on launch day. We haven't got a lot of these views lately. It was Antares that sort of broke the spell there, but for the Cape, this is the first empty launch pad that previously had a rocket on it on a launch day that we've seen. The Scrubtober, the curse of Scrubtober, hopefully broken. Hopefully that logjam clears up and we get some rockets flying out of the Cape. But that retracted strongback, the 45-degree angle, that's actually the support structure that they use to support physically the rocket whenever they lift it up, when they verticate it. That's the what are we calling that these days? It's the TEL, the Transport Erect Launch.
The transporter erector, I believe, is the official term.
There you go. Why did we stop using strongback?
I think strongback
like
is a
that.
very generic term that applies to a lot of different things. Like, I think the transporter erector is a strongback, but not all strongbacks are transporter erectors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. But anyways, you can see it's leaned back. They lean it out of the way like that to try and minimize the impact of the rocket exhaust on it. If you can get it out of the way, hopefully there's a little bit less servicing on it, because if you get rocket exhaust hitting your umbilicals and stuff like that, there's probably a little bit more maintenance on it. But by swinging it out of the way there at the last second, you can hopefully decrease the maintenance on a little bit. And then that thing will lean all the way back down. And that actually rolls in and out of the hangar. They'll put another rocket on top of it, roll it back out there for another launch. And like you said, the next launch that should be on this pad, I don't know about that transporter erector. I would assume the same transporter erector.
Yeah,
but the next
it's the
launch,
same one at the pad. Yep.
yeah, it's the same one, right? Yeah, it's not like they have like 5 of them in a parking
Yeah,
lot.
no,
somewhere.
I think they only have one per pad.
One per pad. So the next launch should probably be Crew 1.
On
Question
this
mark?
pad, I believe the next one, I don't think we have any other. I mean, we have the GPS mission from pad 40, which should in theory be next, assuming they can resolve any technical issues there. And there's some other missions on the manifest for October, but I think all of the East Coast launches for October will now occur from pad 40 until Halloween, when October 31st, when the Crew 1 mission is currently scheduled to launch from 39A. That could change. There is a lot of time between now and Crew 1. They might squeeze in another launch from this pad, but I think, based on what we currently know, the other missions are all planned to launch from the other pad, pad 40.
Gotcha. And Thomas, do you see the rain showers in the area? Like back towards Port Canaveral? It looks like there may be some scattered showers starting to come through.
A little bit to the south towards Port Canaveral, and actually to the west a little bit, there looks like some very isolated showers, some very small showers. Right here at the press site, it's gorgeous right now.
You're still good to go. Gotcha. All right. Just sort of checking in, seeing what's going on. But let me grab some super chats really quickly. Again, Starlink launch currently on a coast phase, almost an hour before they're actually going to release the satellites. Actually, at this point, almost 45 minutes, I guess, before they're going to release the satellites. But let's grab some super chats here, see if there's any other questions that come in. Again, that is an empty launch pad. There is no rocket on it because SpaceX has launched the Falcon 9 carrying those Starlink satellites this morning from Cape Canaveral. But William Toll, would you rather fight one Falcon 9 sized duck or 100 duck sized Falcon 9s? Go. I'll make it relevant. I'll make it relevant. Thomas, one duck sized Falcon 9 or 100 Falcon 9 sized ducks?
Well, hold on, you changed the question.
That sounds
100
terrible.
Falcon-
Yeah, actually,
Wait,
I
no,
think I
you
made it worse.
way worse. That you made it very easy. You changed the question.
A duck-sized Falcon 9 sounds fine. We appreciate you, William. Thank you for injecting some humor into our otherwise dry broadcast. Blake Parsons, thanks for the Australian $14.99. Matan Hugo Alan, a membership there. Welcome to the family, Matan. Thank you for the support there. Platinum Dude, 5 Australian. So many Aussies, lol. I'm in Australia. I'm in Sydney actually, and it's 10:22 p.m. So it's the nighttime crowd. People off of work looking for something to do in their evenings. Luckily, they got a launch to see this morning down from the Cape. VLEX, also from Australia, tossed it in $30.99, $30.99 Australian cents. I don't know what they're called. $30.99 Australian. Great to see so many Australians here tonight. A very strong Australian contingent checking in for the launch. Canadians too, though. Look at this. Love your channel. Launch, baby, launch. David L. Appreciate the 2 Canadian. Mr. Chan once again. Mr. Chan checking in with another $5.99 Australian. So you're very welcome, y'all. Keep it up. Rocket emoji, smiley emoji. Well, I'm going to read the emojis. If you put emojis in, I'm going to read them out. All right. Grant, look at this. Here's Grant tossing in another 5. Nope. Correct that. Tossing in 10 there. Grant, appreciate the consistent. I didn't add up how many you did today, but I think you're over 50 for the stream and definitely over 50 for all the streams with that Starship testing that happened earlier. We appreciate you there. Sam Halter checking in again with $5 asking, have they discontinued work on the super heavy pad at 39A? So Thomas, can you talk about that a little bit? Do you know, we know they were doing some stuff, pouring some concrete, but have they are they still working on that? Is that still a thing? We got you, Thomas?
Sorry, Daz, can
Oh.
you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Sorry, minor technical issue. The question was, have they discontinued work on the super heavy pad at 39A, correct?
Right, that's correct.
Okay, as far as we know, it's not, canceled or anything for sure. There's 100% still planned to launch Starship Super Heavy stacks from 39A. However, I think the plan is to conduct all of the test flights and development over in Boca Chica, Texas, where they're not in the middle of a busy Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and Kennedy Space Center range, with all these launches that are scrubbing mostly, but finally launching. Versus Boca Chica, where SpaceX is the only one there, and they can kind of test on their own schedule. We believe they're gonna do all the test flights over in Boca Chica, and then once Starship is more or less operational, begin launches from here as well to up their launch cadence, as well as some ocean-going launch sites Elon has hinted at. So because of that, because their near-term launches aren't going to occur from here, I think the progress on the pad here is slow. It's not non-existent. There's 100% work being done. I don't know if they are currently doing anything. Obviously not the second because they just launched a rocket from there, but the coming days or so. I believe that is kind of more or less on hold just because they're focusing on Boca Chica right now, and we expect work to pick up here at Kennedy Space Center closer to when Starship becomes fully operational.
Gotcha. All right, Sam, thank you again for the support and a good question. That was sort of big news. We kept seeing pictures coming out of the work they were doing there, but then it all sort of just ground down. So definitely not slowing down at Boca Chica. We're doing all the test campaigns. That's why we were live earlier, as they were supposed to do a cryo test. Not thinking we got the full cryo test earlier this morning, but definitely still pushing forward with Starship as well. Mosh Pit God says, great tracking, Thomas. I agree. That was a good track, Thomas. I'm not even going to say like for the first time. No, just hands down, that was a good track. Well done,
Thank
sir.
you. I tried my best.
Yeah. I almost said like, oh, for the first track it was good, but no, that was good for like the 5th track or 6th track. You look like a pro, man. Graham D says, watching from UK, the sound of those boosters on your mic was fantastic. Great job, guys. Y'all, that is why we switch. I know it's a little bit awkward. It's like, oh, very unnews professionally. We switch from the real-time comms, which is Thomas on his phone on Discord here. When we have real-time comms, we can talk to each other in real time. When we go to the broadcast mic on the camera, there's actually like a 3 or 4 second delay. So when I say something, Thomas can hear me in real time, but if he responds, we don't hear his response for a couple seconds, and it makes it hard for us to have real-time conversations where I'm like, hey, Thomas, what's up?
What's up, Daz? Oh, I didn't realize you were going to set up. I wasn't ready.
I called you out on that one. Sorry, but when we switch over to that broadcast microphone, it's a really nice microphone to get that high resolution rumble of the rocket, but it does have that delay since it's tied into the camera itself. So that is actually coming across the video feed as opposed to a separate side audio channel that's a little bit more real time because it's not coupled with the video. But appreciate the support there, Graham. Thank you for that. The audio is really fantastic. It really is. And Bench Straight 999 saying, nice, just tuned in. And there were flames coming out and things flying and now landing. Thanks, guys. Bench Straight, we appreciate you. Again, one of the long-term supporters. We've seen you around quite a bit, and we appreciate you. Thank you, Bench Straight. CANP Railroad saying, any way to see the booster landing from shore? Uh,
Don't believe
depends.
so. It depends on where the landing is, but for these missions, the sun missions, they're fairly a fair ways out. If you live up the eastern coast a bit, maybe the Carolinas or Virginia, you might be able to catch a glimpse of the re-entry burn, where Falcon 9 is still pretty high up. But the landing burn and actual touchdown on the drone ship is not really visible from as far offshore as the drone ships are stationed. Um, the only way you can see it, and I've seen this from one mission, I got very lucky. If you're on an airliner and you're flying down the east coast of the U.S. during a
Oh,
launch with a
geez.
drone ship landing, you can see it that way, and that was super cool. That's kind of the only way to get. You'd have to get off the ground and get some altitude. It's not really visible from shore when it's a drone ship landing, which means that your best chance to actually see a Falcon 9 or Falcon Heavy booster land is to come here when there's a mission with an RTLS or return to launch site landing, when they land at landing zones 1 and 2 here at Cape Canaveral, or at landing zone 4 over in Vandenberg Air Force Base for the West Coast mission.
Yep. And that is I'll tell you, NASA Spaceflight likes camera. We put cameras everywhere, right? We want all the angles we can get. One of these days, I will make it over to the coast of North Carolina because I live in North Carolina. I'm in Charlotte right now. About a 3.5 hour drive for me to go over to the coast. And I want to see probably for a night landing if I can't pick up the entry burn. And it depends on exactly where the drone ship is if we can see the beginning of the landing burn. But if it's a nice clear day and there's no, or nice clear night, and there's no clouds in the way between there and there, because it's a couple hundred kilometers offshore, but you should be able to see those burns, and the burns will be a lot easier to pick out if they happen at night. So one of these days, I'll take the long lens out to the coast. We'll spool up another remote and see if, I don't even know why. You won't see anything except a dot of light moving across the sky, but just to say we did, like camera angles. We like camera angles.
They said it couldn't be done.
Exactly. I'll answer that for you firsthand and go over there and see if we can get you a live camera feed from the shore. Robert Hobson, look at this. Robert Hobson sneaking in a couple minutes ago with the $50. That's not the first time that Robert's done that. Robert saying, thanks for the great coverage. Question, what is the curved roof thing on the right side of Thomas's camera feed? So, Robert, since you know the guy, clicking on camera feeds, looks like a Quonset hut or a shade of some sort, huh?
Yeah, so there's some buildings between the press site. If you don't know where the press site is, it is pretty much right next to the vehicle assembly building. There's the historic countdown clock. There's the dock where the Pegasus barge, which carries SLS components now to the VAB, used to carry shuttle components. That is right next to us. And then there's the VAB, and the water that's between me and the pad is the turning basin where the barge arrives. And then on the other side of that water, between us and the pad, there is a bunch of different engineering buildings. There's some storage areas. That particular building that you're pointing out, I don't know exactly what it is. I think it's just a storage place for either vehicles or other hardware. They probably don't keep like flight hardware out there because it's kind of just wide open. But I think it's just a storage facility. There's a bunch of buildings between us and the pad for different various purposes.
I bet you there's like a tractor or something underneath that
Maybe.
semicircle. I don't know if it's technically a Quonset hut because the ends aren't closed. I don't know the technicalities of that, but it looks like something you would park a truck or a tractor or something under, you know. But Robert Hobson always with the I say insane. I hope that's not an insult. With the crazy, also hope that's not an insult. Significant, that's not very insulting. Gratuitous, that makes sense. Support for the channel, $49.99, $50 US. Robert, thank you for your very, very generous contributions to making it so we can keep on doing this. Y'all keep showing up, and we will keep on bringing y'all coverage, answering questions, and me saying the word y'all a lot. But we, as always, appreciate you. Scooby-Doo. Apparently, Scooby-Doo is a member of the channel as well now. No message on that, but welcome to the channel, Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Dougal, Canadian 279, saying hooray for the successful launch and landing. Thanks, y'all. We appreciate you, Dougal. Thank you for the kind words. Blake Longshaw saying perfect time in Perth, Australia. Love your work. Blake, we love SpaceX's work because if we were just out there pointing the camera at some trees, that wouldn't be so fantastic. But because SpaceX launches these rockets, we are able to get Thomas out there. Thomas, again, with a fantastic job on the track today, running the live stream camera for us from the press site. But thank you for the kind words there, Blake. And then last but not least, Australian dollars. Do we have any more information about the future of the Minotaur rocket? Love how fast it jumps off the pad, but it doesn't look like many launches are scheduled. That's from Andy E. Minotaur Thomas. Do you
Very
know
good question.
what's going on with Minotaur?
Yeah, so the Minotaur line of launch vehicles, now operated by Northrop Grumman, are basically old solid rocket boosters from decommissioned ICBMs, actually, that are repurposed and stacked to launch satellites and things to orbit. And those are pretty rare. It's not the most advanced launch vehicle. It really is. Depending on which variant of Minotaur we're talking about, a couple solid stages. Sometimes there's a liquid stage at the very end. So there's only a subset of missions that they can really support. They don't lift super heavy payloads or anything like that, and the launch system isn't designed to be super affordable. Like SpaceX's thing is we're going to make it reusable so we can offer the lowest costs and make more missions affordable and things like that. The idea behind Minotaur is we have all these old motors running around. We might as well use them for something, and they're using them to launch the occasional mission. I know there is a Minotaur mission coming up, I think no earlier than next year from Wallops Flight Facility. I think it's an NRO mission. So the manifest isn't empty. There are Minotaur launches scheduled. It is a very rarely launching rocket, but when it does launch, you are completely correct. It is super fun to watch. The solid boosters, or not even boosters, just a solid motor. It's the main stage. Does help the vehicle leap right off the pad. High thrust to weight ratio, if you're familiar with that term. And they are fun to watch, but they are pretty rare. There's a couple on the manifest though. There's some more coming.
And that's like a smaller satellite launcher, right? That's not
Yeah,
on the scale of Falcon 9 or Atlas or anything like that. That's
yeah, it is. It's a heavier lifter than say like the dedicated small sat launch vehicles. If you look at Rocket Lab Electron, Launcher One from Virgin Orbit, the Firefly vehicles,
right.
all of those are really designed for really small CubeSats and things like that. Minotaur isn't that small, but it is a light lifter, is what you would call it. Much less payload than a Falcon 9 or an Atlas or something like that. So it's a sort of niche market, but it is useful because you're using these solid motors, which were at one point designed to deliver nuclear weapons for a much better purpose, launching satellites. A lot of time it is a national security mission still, but things like NRO intelligence satellites or Air Force satellites, the occasional NASA science mission as well. So they're being put to a much better use now.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all, I'm seeing more and more questions come through. We'll see if we can grab some more.
Yeah,
Do
we can
we
take a
know?
couple more, DOS.
Yeah, a couple more, a couple more. Do we know the current date for Crew One? Is that still on for a spoopy launch?
It is on track for a Halloween launch on October 31st, and I'm just saying, if they don't arrive at the ISS, knock on the docking hatch, and say trick or treat, they're doing it wrong. All right?
Well, their costumes are ready made. They already have some
Yeah,
really
they're already dressed up
fantastic
as
astronaut
astronauts,
costumes.
right?
I
What
love
I'm
it.
hoping is that NASA had the foresight to stick a couple pieces of Halloween candy on the Antares they launched the other day, so they're ready for trick or treaters when they come on Halloween.
They should have little candy bags, and then the astronauts on the space station can give them some candy, then close the hatch again. Like, all right. And I put the track back up there. Y'all can see stage 2 with the Starlink satellite still on board, getting ready to cross over the Arabian Peninsula there. And it had gone over earlier Scotland and the UK. Looks like it went right over London and then all of sort of Eastern Europe, but you wouldn't see this because it is daytime over there. So this is not a satellite you could look up and see at this point, but it is there. Trust us, it's there. Let's see if I can grab a couple more good questions. All right. Let's see. Why is part of the landing pad missing? Part of the landing pad missing. Did you catch anything on
They,
that? I didn't.
they might be looking at the drone ship, like the paint is not there, like the SpaceX logo and stuff is not always visible.
It's like
Um,
burned off.
Yeah, obviously, as a Falcon 9 lands on the drone ship, it's going to burn away a lot of that very top layer of just the paint on the top. Obviously, not a big structural component, but I'm assuming that's what you were referring to. They don't go through the effort of repainting the drone ship every single time. It doesn't serve a purpose for landing clearly because they don't do it. It's mostly just an aesthetic thing. Every once in a while, they give it a fresh paint job. But I think today you could see the scorch marks of prior landings on that drone ship. I think that's what they were talking about.
Yeah, gotcha. So let's see here if we've got. Let's see. Oh, here's a clarification sort of thing, and I'm digging through the questions here, sort of manually. This is maybe just cleaning something up. Elon just tweeted that this was the 4th flight, but we mentioned only 3, which is correct. Did we say 3 or did we say it was the 3rd landing? What did we say
Well,
earlier?
either way, this is, unless I'm horribly mistaken, this is 100% the third flight of this booster.
Let me look that up really
and it's
quickly.
Well, it's the third. I'm sorry, it's the third flight of a fairing too. I thought it was the third flight of this booster. Maybe I misspoke. Can someone fact check me? I
Yeah,
apologize if I messed that up.
Elon tweeted 4th flight and landing for this booster a couple minutes ago.
Michael, can you fact check that? Is that correct, or did he tweet a mistake? If Michael's still here.
Elon is wrong. That was
Elon's wrong.
Okay, I was pretty sure this was the third because it was Demo 2 and Anasis 2, and I wonder if I was second guessing myself because they might have snuck in another Starlink or something. But no, this is the third launch and landing of this booster. Just a mistype on the typo on the tweet there from me.
Yeah, and he did correct himself actually a couple tweets after that.
Okay.
A lot of people corrected him, saying that it was the third flight, and he said yes, it was the third flight of this booster, third flight for active half of the fairing. So yes. He did do that.
And that's interesting. He specified so that there are 2 fairing halves, an active and a passive half, and I'm forgetting the exact term, like what the exact differences are. They're more or less identical. I think it is in reference to the deployment mechanism, which actually carries the separation system for the 2 fairing halves. So essentially, they specified which half was being flown for a third time. Of course, they are hopefully going to attempt to recover both fairing halves, and I realized we didn't really mention that yet. Michael or Das, have they mentioned on the stream whether they're go for a recovery time for the fairings yet?
No, they're in their coast phase mode.
Okay, yeah. Did they show that the catch nets are up on the recovery vessels?
I'd have to go back and check. But...
Okay. That recovery time doesn't occur until 40 or 45 minutes after launch, so it still hasn't even happened yet. Even though there's a very slight difference between the profiles of the first stage and the fairings do ride along on that second stage just a little while longer, which makes their trajectory much longer. They fly much higher and longer than the first stage does. Plus, once they start hitting the atmosphere, the fairings are much lighter, so they slow down a lot faster than a relatively heavy first stage. So it actually takes a while for those fairings to fall down, and then plus they deploy parafoils relatively high up, so that slows them down. So it takes a while for them to actually fall all the way down to the ocean, where they're either caught or recovered after splashdown or whatever.
And yes, the catch net is. Looks like the catch net's up on at least one. It's hard to tell. I can't tell on one of the ships. It looks like it might be a smaller net. It's hard to tell.
So we'll stand by and hopefully we'll get some news. Usually, if fairing recovery is successful, Elon or SpaceX will say something. If they don't recover them via a catch, or if they either get them from a splashdown or recovery doesn't occur at all for any reason, they usually don't say anything, and we'll know that when the ships come back to port, either with a complete fairing half or maybe if something went wrong, a damaged fairing half or something like that. But crossing our fingers for a successful recovery there too. We already had recovery of the first stage, so we're going for the 2 fairings as well.
Excellent. And speaking of returning to port, since we've got a booster on a drone ship, are we going to try to roll out the old live stream rig and see if we can see that come in?
I think there's a very high probability that we do a return to port stream for this mission, Das. And of course, we were kind of hoping that the GPS mission would also launch. We were hoping for sort of a back-to-back situation. We could have 2 boosters returning to port very quickly. Actually, the 2 recovery zones for those missions are very close together. So we were hoping for 2 boosters coming back to back. GPS has a relatively significant delay, so that's not going to launch super soon. But yes, when this booster comes back, I think there's a very good chance that we bring you some live coverage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's usually a couple of days. That would probably be, was today Tuesday? So that'd probably be like Friday, Saturday before that booster comes back in,
early
right?
weekend. Yep.
Yeah, probably on the weekend. So be looking on the channel for that. If you want to see the booster up close and personal floating in on the drone ship, let us know. I mean, you know how to follow the channel. You know how to get back to it here. And let me see. A couple more super chats. Grant's continuing to toss in the super chats. Spool it down a little bit, Grant. We appreciate you. And then Shunt Sam, one Australian. We appreciate the support there as well. Shunt Sam. So I do think I'll correct myself. I said, is it the 3rd landing but the 4th flight? Well, that doesn't make any sense, because if it didn't land one of the times, then how would it fly again? The thing that the misspeak that sometimes happens is the 4th flight or the 3rd reflight, right? because
Yeah.
sometimes they'll say, "Oh yeah, well it's flown 4 times or it's been reflown 3 times," so you can have 3 reflies because the first flight isn't a refly; it's an initial flight. And so sometimes what I was sort of the neurons that were misfiring in my head was correcting the, "Oh yeah, well it's 4 flights, but it's 3 reflights," and I said 3 landings, and that doesn't work out very well at all. You can't have 4 flights if you've only had 3. Well, I guess there's about 11-minute window where you can have 4 launches and only 3 landings for any given booster, and that's while it's flying, right? It's still airborne, spaceborne, whatever. But
Hey, Toss, you
that's
should cut to my camera real quick.
oh sure, hang on. Where's my mouse at? There we go. Hey, it's the security team.
KSC Security out in full force today.
Y'all think that we're kidding? I mean, sometimes you go over for remote setup and stuff like that, and there will be a alligator in one of the retention ponds. A lot of launch pads have water retention ponds around them, and you don't. It's always a thing to get your remote camera set up too close to the retention pond because KSC Security does want to keep you out of those retention ponds. You do not want to become an alligator snack. Well, because the alligators are partially their natural KSC security there, saying stay away from my retention ponds. So I do think, Thomas, that we are probably coming up on the end of our coverage. Is that correct?
Yes. We're wrapping up here at the press site, so let's go ahead and wrap up our coverage for today. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. A huge thank you to all the super chats and the memberships. Again, I'm going to repeat the same spiel I do every time. I need to come up with a new way to phrase this, but it really does just allow us to do what we do, allow us to show you these launches and live coverage of all these other things, and share the latest in spaceflight news and help you all get excited about some really cool things happening in spaceflight. We do really appreciate all of that support. Also, a huge thanks to Das and Michael in the studio, pulling the levers and pushing the buttons to help make this stream happen. Couldn't do it without them. Yeah, just thanks for tuning in. Finally, a successful launch from Kennedy Space Center. We will be live again, probably next. If I had to bet for more Boca Chica testing coverage, stay tuned for that. And of course, we will also bring you live coverage of the other launch attempts here from Cape Canaveral. Still waiting on new launch dates for the GPS and the NROL 44 missions, though they are probably next. And of course, future missions as well. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll look forward to more live coverage coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Really quickly, Sherman 120 over on the Twitch side, 68 months. I cannot end the stream without saying thank you for that, Sherman. Longtime supporter of my channel over there, so thank you so much. Again, y'all just heard Thomas Burghardt there out there running the camera. Some excellent gator tracking here right now, just right there, bang in the middle of the frame.
Gators are a lot slower than rockets, for the record.
I think he's starting to come your way, Thomas. I don't
He's
know,
looking at me.
He's coming. He hears he's going to come shut down the live stream himself.
He's telling me that I need to leave the press site soon.
But like I said, that's Thomas Burghardt out there. Again, y'all put some love in chat for Thomas. Rolling out super early this morning, driving almost an hour down to the Cape, over an hour down to the Cape, and setting up the NASA Spaceflight live stream camera, answering questions, doing the live commentary. Thomas, fantastic track again. Thank you so much for sharing that with us this morning.
Thank you, Das.
All right, and then back here in the studio, I'm John Galloway, host, producer for NASA Spaceflight. You can find me over on Twitter, K-Space Academy. You can find Thomas on Twitter. Oh, geez, TG Metsfan98, right?
That's the one.
Yeah, that was just on the screen there. So there it is, TG Metsfan98. If you want to keep track of what we're doing or what we're commenting on, follow us on Twitter over there and the actual NASA Space Flight channel. Do you think we're going to sell any more Scrubtober shirts? Scrubtimber, eat, launch, scrub, repeat, eat, sleep, scrub, repeat shirts? You think
Well,
those are
if
gonna
you say
go
it
out of
loud enough,
style?
Delta and the other Falcon 9 might just keep scrubbing. So
If enough people wear those T-shirts, maybe the I don't know. That's not a sales pitch. Like
yeah,
buy the T-shirts.
no.
So the
Wearing
launches
the shirts
scrub.
is what prevents scrubs. You want to wear them because that's a reverse. It's a reverse psychology. The rocket's like, oh well, now I have to launch to show you're wrong. So
Yeah, exactly. It's like, don't make me wear this shirt, Rocket. So if you're interested in one of those, I'll put up a link to the shop just really quickly. Those eat, sleep, scrub, repeat shirts. I think that should just be the shop command. But the NASA Spaceflight team is going to be shutting down our coverage here. Looks like we'll end on a nice empty pad over at 39A.
There it is.
There we go. The no more rocket there. That's what we wanted to see here on a scrub lacking morning at Cape Canaveral. I guess we could put live, laugh, scrub. Live. I'm gonna put that up on my wall in the studio. Live, laugh,
All right,
scrub.
but Live Laugh Launch has nice little alliteration, so I feel like I like that version
Ooh.
better.
Yeah, you're right. Live, laugh, launch. That is actually pretty good. Anyways, y'all, that is going to end the NASA spaceflight coverage for today. Again, a successful Starlink launch so far. Not quite up to spacecraft separation, but be looking on Twitter for that confirmation from SpaceX. I'm sure it'll come out of the actual NASA spaceflight account as well for confirmation once those things actually separate. But for now, we will be shutting down our live stream. Again, thank you all so much for showing up. Thank you for sharing this event with us. Thomas, thank you for rolling out super early, getting us the live camera, and we will see y'all for the next event. Be looking for that booster return. If you want to see the booster up close and personal, follow the channel here. You know how to follow it. Turn on the notifications so you get a little ping that makes your phone go off whenever we go live, and you will probably get a couple opportunities to see some fantastic up-close shots of that booster that landed on the drone ship. But for now, we're going to go ahead and shut it down. Thomas, you will go ahead and pack up, and we will see you nerds later. Thanks again for hanging out with us.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
Alright, the chamber pressure looks good. Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantic. Body downside speed off. Speed off.
Yikes. You bet. Okay. We don't need any more of these.